We'll get started with the introductions. I'm Frank Fittipaldi, your General Manager. Welcome Galaxy Community, Galaxy Board, Galaxy Community, and our survey consultant. The purpose of this presentation is to present to the Board of Directors the final results of the hallway redecorating survey. Input and comments from the residents that was taken between December and up to as late as January 29th, I believe, was the extended deadline date. So the board will hear the final results tonight. They invited the entire Galaxy homeowners community to listen to the presentation as well. Please be reminded, this is not another town hall meeting which is what happened in December, where the board invited you to hear your input and comments while the preliminary presentation was given from the hallway committee on their initial recommendations. So the hallway committee did its job, and by the way, at their last meeting last week, so their job is finished. They've given recommendations to the board. Those recommendations, again, were shared with the community. Communities had a chance to input. And now you're all going to hear the results of the survey. The board may ask questions. However, this is not a forum to be commenting on the comments, because that's what you're going to hear is the comments from the entire community. So presenting the comments is Mr. Carl Peronin. Carl is a former tenant of Galaxy Towers. He's a management consultant with more than 20 years experience. He has a Master of Arts in Psychology from NYU, and his particular area of expertise is survey research. So we engaged Carl. Carl designs, conducts, and analyzes and interprets surveys for corporate clients such as Amazon.com and Horizon Blue Cross and so forth. He's well qualified to not opine on the survey results, but simply present them and analyze them and explain what they mean. So without further ado, I'll invite Carl to come up here and begin the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. Let me tell you a little bit about where we're headed in the next couple of minutes. Here's the table of contents. We're going to start off with sort of background to the survey effort, and then we're going to focus in a fair amount of time here this evening on how the owners of Galaxy units rated the performance of the designs offered against the performance criteria that were stated for this project. We'll come back to that later, but essentially that's the individual items that people responded to on the survey. Then the last question in the survey was asked individuals for their design preference, and we'll get to that. And then folks were given an opportunity to provide write-in comments, and several folks took the time and effort to provide a number of comments, sometimes very lengthy. You could see a lot of thoughtfulness applied to many of the comments we'll take a look at this evening as well. And then we're going to wrap it up with a summary of what we just saw. Okay, so the background, in terms of the who, is the entire population of Galaxy owners in good standing here. That's just a function of the mic. Okay. If not, I'll talk really loud. I didn't do that.
Thanks very much.
Okay. So what does that mean? The survey was offered up to 10,021 individuals. 294 responded overall for a 29% response rate. So call it 3 out of 10 folks, your fellow owners, participated in this survey, and that's the data that we're going to be reviewing here this evening. Okay. Again, there was a 13-item questionnaire, which involved asking 6 questions about one design option, 6 about another, and then asked for the preference. So there were 13 closed-ended questions, and again, then there was one write-in opportunity at the end of the survey. The win is primarily in the December and, well, exclusively in the December and January timeframe. As you can see, the 18th through the 31st of December. Then going back to the well to try to give every owner the opportunity to share their input. So the survey was opened back up from the 15th to the 29th of January. And the data that you're seeing here is, of course, hot off the press here today. The survey was available both in an electronic, via email form, as well as paper and pencil. And the participation really was solicited through the weekly updates that you folks received, emails, posted notices, phone alerts, direct mail, and even included being enclosed in the monthly invoice. Right, Frank? Okay. So, what did the survey reveal? We're going to look at performance against those design criteria. By way of recollection, for those of you who completed the survey, most of these items were asked on a 5-point scale. You could have said very good, good, satisfactory, poor, very poor, okay? To help make sense of the survey and to put it in a palatable way, we're going to combine the two favorable ends, which are the very goods and the goods. We'll leave satisfactory by itself, and then we'll combine the poors and the very poors, okay? And that'll be considered percentages of folks who are favorable, neutral, or unfavorable, okay? But, as is oftentimes the case in survey research, if you've seen similar kinds of results from other surveys and other contacts, customer satisfaction, and so forth, we're also going to call out what's called the top box. And the top box is simply, what is the most favorable response you could have given? In this case, it's very good. And we'll call that out by itself. Pulling that out of the goods and very goods, we'll show you the very good simply by itself. And every bar chart you're going to see, and this makes complete sense probably, is just the data from those people who offered up an opinion. Some folks opted out of certain questions. They didn't have a strong opinion, they didn't feel comfortable providing a certain response. They may have skipped it, or they may have checked an option which is don't know, not applicable. Those folks are not included in any analysis. They didn't have an opinion. So all the data here is from those folks that gave us an answer on any one of the given items. Fair enough? Okay. Finally, the data. So to be clear, the first 6 items, which are portrayed here graphically, were asked regarding the first design option listed as gray. The first, and by the way, this is in the question order as it was, just as it was taken in the survey itself. We have 5 questions that are meant to pull for the performance against the design criteria established for this project. What do I mean by that? In other words, being a modern contemporary design while avoiding trendiness there at the top. That goes, as I'm going to read this down for those of you in the back, just so that we can all be clear what I'm saying here. The second question, enhancing the image of the Galaxy and our property values. The third is being visually appealing to both current owners and potential future buyers of Galaxy units. Continuing on, the fourth question was regarding durability and performance. The fifth, being enjoyable and comfortable to you personally on a day-to-day basis. And those were the performance criteria I mentioned. And then to summarize those, respondents were asked their perception of their overall satisfaction with the design option. That's question 6 there at the bottom. So again, just to show you the way we're portraying these data, because I just want to make sure there's no ambiguity about this, of all the respondents who took a given item, up there at the top, 67% chose good or very good on design 1 being a modern contemporary design while avoiding trendiness. 16% on that item chose satisfactory, so a neutral response. And then 16% of the respondents chose poor, very poor, okay? So, and then additionally on the far right, the top box, 44% indicated very good. That 44% is inside the 67%. Any questions on that? Everybody follow me? Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So the takeaway here, and I've read all the items, and as you look up and down, not to be overly simplistic, but there is a fair degree of favorability that you can see in these responses. And beginning very simplistic, there's a lot of blue. So I would call it, I've characterized it as favorable ratings of performance with 3 out of 5 to 2 out of 3 on each of these attributes and on overall satisfaction here at the bottom. as well as 1/3 to nearly 1/2 choosing the highest option, very good, saying, I really like this on the following performance criteria or on my overall satisfaction. Now, you may also notice, from looking up and down the chart here, a bit more lukewarm than the other items. The lowest rating on being enjoyable and comfortable to you personally on a day-to-day basis. 62%, still 3 out of 5 folks saying good or very good. We are picking up some ratings, as you can see in the unfavorable category, 23% indicating poor or very poor. Okay? Any questions or comments?
Why don't they get up to 100?
I'm so glad you asked that question. And I should have covered off on that before, because folks, I've been spending 30 years of my life looking at survey data, and I doubt you folks have. The bar charts are affected by something called rounding, okay? So let me give you the best example of why a bar chart might add from anywhere from 99% to 101. Most of the charts add to 100%, but there's the possibility of 99 to 101. And I'll give you a good explanation of why. Let's say I asked 3 individuals, Justin, Shahela, and Carl. If I said, how do you like vanilla ice cream? And Shahela, I know Shahela, she really loves it. And so she says, it's good or very good. So she's favorable, she's in the blue portion of the bar. Carl, he's not really a vanilla kind of guy. He says, satisfactory. I'm neutral, I'm neither favorable nor I'm just a. Justin, and I know him, hates vanilla. So he would be in the red portion of the bar, okay? So we've got 1 blue, 1 white, 1 red. The bar better add to 99 or somebody's got to calculate a problem, right? Each person would be 33% of the overall bar chart, right? That's an example of how the bar can go from 99 to 101. I should have answered that right in front going in here. Okay? Very good. And now we turn to the second design option, brown. These are the same items in the same order as we just saw for the gray option, so that's just to make it easy for you. And it ranges again from being a modern, contemporary design, well avoiding trendiness, down to being enjoyable and comfortable to you on a personal basis, and wrapping up with, finally, please rate your overall satisfaction with design 2. A couple of takeaways. You've noticed that the favorability, the extent of the size of the blue bar has decreased now as we go back and forth between these slides. Now you're going to see the favorable ranging from about 1/2 of respondents up to 3 out of 5 of respondents saying good, and they're rating it good or very good on each attribute, as well as overall satisfaction. And you'll also notice another slight difference on that top box, or again, very good option. A little bit lower than we just saw for option 1. So what it really turns out is 1/4, 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 3, 1/4 to 1/3, indicating very good on each of these items that you see displayed. Okay, so I would characterize this distribution as a bit more lukewarm. It's not unfavorable. Lukewarm means, well, you've got a slight majority of folks that would say something is good or very good, but it's a little bit below the degree of satisfaction we saw in the prior option. Okay. And then finally, in terms of when you get down to the being enjoyable and comfortable to you personally on a day-to-day basis, you may notice that the ratings are clearly a bit more mixed. Now we're picking up a noticeable percentage in the red portion there. And on overall satisfaction, 1 out of 4 indicating poor or very poor. Okay? Justin?
Could we go back one slide more? Can we go back one slide?
I'm not driving the presentation.
Okay. No, I just wanted to see something real fast. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers, I'm just curious. So the difference.
Yeah, folks, excuse me.
That's all.
The board is
Sorry.
going to ask a few questions of the
Yeah,
survey
I'm
consultant.
sorry.
This is not a town hall
So-
meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I will definitely hold my questions.
Justin?
No, thank you. I wanted to observe something from the prior and
Okay.
visualize it.
And hey, why don't we flip back and forth? I mean, just a couple of times.
Yeah.
There's 2,
Apologize.
there's 2,
Yeah.
and there's 1.
Yeah.
There's 2, and there's 1. Okay?
No, excuse me, let the presentation finish, please.
Sorry.
Okay. So that's it for the specific ratings on each design option. against the criteria and against overall satisfaction. And now the 13th question in the survey was, tell us your specific preference now that you've given us all this good information. So here, I've stacked the bar chart and I've color-coded it. So 49% of the respondents chose the first option, the gray option. 40% of respondents chose the brown option, option 2. And then there was also the possibility to say, hey, either is acceptable to me. You know, I can't really, you know, they're both fine. Or the fourth option being, you know what, neither is acceptable to me personally. And as you can see, the percentages drop very small for both of those options. But good to see that a number of folks out there felt that either was acceptable. And fortunately, one of the real positives coming out of this survey is a very small percentage, 5% of respondents indicated, you know what, either is acceptable to me. Okay. Now, another way of thinking about this is, you know, we've got nearly 50% choosing the gray option. But since either is acceptable to some folks, you can actually add that 5% if you want to think this through that way. You can add that 5% to the 49% to come up with 54% endorsement for the gray, and the 5% to the 40% to say 45% endorsement for the brown. You follow my logic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As I alluded to earlier, we gave folks the option, the opportunity to provide a write-in comment, and we'll take a look at that now. I want you to know that all of these comments have been read several times. So why did we ask the write-in comment? Well, you know, this is a quantitative survey effort. We want to get down to the hard numbers, but it always helps to get a perspective on the quantitative data from the qualitative opportunities you give people to provide comments. In this case, folks were asked to elaborate on their design preference, any more clarification of why they made that choice that they just did, question number 13. And it's kind of interesting that just as in almost every other client that I've worked with over all these years, the owners of the Galaxy responded in a very similar way, in that just under 1/2 provided a comment. You can go into any organization, you can talk to customers, you can talk to all kinds of, but it's always about 1/2. I don't know why that is. 1/2 of people provide comments and 1/2 don't. So nevertheless, we got quite a few comments. While there were 294 respondents to the survey, we got 131 folks providing one or more comment. Some folks just provided one comment, some folks made several comments. Okay. And I put those comments through what we would call content analysis, meaning that it's qualitative data. We asked you to type in whatever you'd like or write in the space provided, whatever you'd like. But we want to try to make sense out of that. It's difficult to, you know, you've got comments all over the board. So the content analysis is pretty straightforward. I read all the comments. I tried to figure out what is the underlying theme for those comments or themes. I then took the themes and applied them back against the comments. All comments were coded according to those themes, and percentages are calculated. Okay, so what percent of folks said a particular theme, and you're going to see that here this evening. The other caveat is that when you give folks the opportunity to write in a comment, they'll write in all kinds of things. Trust me. So a lot of themes only had 1 or 2 people that really, mentioned that in their comment. You're going to see the biggest buckets here this evening. Otherwise, we're going to get down to 1% and so forth. And so now let's take a look at what that says. I've divided the comments and how I'm providing them to you into 3 ways. The first slide shows you the folks that directly answered the question, meaning, could you expand a little bit more about your preference? Why did you choose this? And help elaborate on what you did. These are the themes that reflected that question, truthfully. And it starts off at the top with and I'm going to just give you a verbatim. These are words right off of the comments. I just aggregated them and put them up on this slide. The top box, the most common theme was the brown design is more homey, residential, warm, lively, versus the gray design being more industrial, office-like, gloomy, and cold. These are actual words. The second theme that emerged was Both designs are cold, uninviting, office-like, boring, bland. You can see 16% of the respondents, 16% of those 131 respondents, indicated a comment that really treed up to that theme. The third option, 13%, indicated that the gray design is more classy, modern, rich, and interesting. And then the percentages start to drop, down from 13%, provided that anyway, down to 6% with the next one. Brown is more timeless, the gray will look dated. A similar 6% said, I would prefer more color. Going down the line, gray is more timeless, brown will look dated. Okay? Continuing on to 5%, continuing on with the gray design conceals more dirt. Then, continuing on, a similar percentage, brown design is more consistent with the Galaxy lobby, with the Galaxy overall look, or the lobby or the brick. And continuing on, the brown design will conceal more dust and lint. Then, now the percentages really start to drop, 3% endorsing, I like both designs. And then finally, the gray design is more consistent with other parts of the Galaxy. So, just to point out that there are strong differences of opinion, even on the same topic. Consistency with the building, which is going to be better from a maintenance standpoint, or conceal either more dust or more lint and so forth. But I encourage you to look at those write-ins and to think about those in terms of how you responded to the survey and what you saw in those two designs. If there are no questions or comments, then we're going to continue on to say, but there were some other comments that didn't really explain someone's design preference, but were nevertheless important, and we wanted to share that here this evening. So, sort of additional suggestions and concerns. In the top category here surrounding this topic, and many of you may know quite well what this is regarding, the mirrors in the building. So quite 12% of respondents indicating something about, and this is usually the retention of the mirrors, okay? All right. Dropping down a little bit, 11% were shared some concern about the visual guidance, the color identity of the three towers, the differentiating coloring scheme, and the differentiating and/or the differentiating artwork when you come off the elevators, right? Sort of which way are you going coming off the elevators, right? Okay. So that was the next largest theme. Then now in this category, we start to drop down a lot, from 11% down to 5% of the respondents indicated that to their mind's eye, further analysis or mock-up was needed. 5% mentioned ensure the necessary lighting, to make sure these, and essentially was saying to get the mileage out of these designs, we need lighting to, to really accentuate, the good hard work and what we just endorsed above. And then there was the last category that was really worth showing here in a public forum is provide hallway or other decoration. So concerned about continuing to have decoration here in the towers. Okay. Lastly, there were some comments that really just fell out of those two buckets, and really 7% each for folks that just indicated, look, I'm excited by this project that's coming up, or specifically, thank you for this important work. So, there you have it. So I'm going to go ahead and summarize. And I'm just telling you what I told you. The results for Design 1 are somewhat more favorable than those for Design 2, on both the design criteria for the redecoration project and on folks' overall satisfaction with the two designs. Design 1 receives favorable marks on being modern, contemporary, on enhancing the image of the Galaxy, being visually appealing, and durability and performance. And Design 2, the ratings are a bit, received now only slight majorities favorable, and its very good ratings are lower than for Design number 1. In sort of wrapping it up, Design 1 is preferred over Design 2 by 9 percentage points. That's considerable. It's not a dramatic difference by any means. But again, thankfully, and I really do feel it this way, only a very small percentage of respondents preferred neither design. The comments helped clarify the preference, and it really centered on those preferring the brown see it as homey, warm, and residential. Those preferring the gray see it as classy, modern, and rich. And then there were clear differences of opinion, as I called out before, showing that difference of opinion regarding the timelessness of each option, each option's ability to hide dirt, dust, and lint, gray versus the brown, and difference of opinion regarding fit with other parts of the galaxy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions? Okay, that concludes the presentation. Carl, thank you very much. And again, Galaxy residents and owners, this was the presentation of results. So if there are any questions regarding the technical aspects of the survey, please write to us in the management office of the board. We'll be happy to explain. But again, this was not another forum for receiving comments on the comments. So thank you very much. At this point, it's just about 8:30. We're going to set up and begin the regular monthly open board meeting within a few minutes. Thank you.